I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight to this meeting, and just like to take the opportunity to tell you how much I appreciate you all showing up. We will be taking questions as we go through the period or through the program. We want to start off and kind of introduce the people here. I've got my employees standing behind me. Didn't want to start there for some reason, so forgive me. But anyways, I'd like to start off with introducing the employees of the office. Of course, y'all know me. I'm Brandon Parton. I'm your property assessor. Have been for the last 16 years. I've been in the office for over 21. Moving on, I'd like to introduce my chief deputy, Mr. Jeff Robbins. Mr. William Baird, he is our GIS mapping specialist. Next up is Administrative Assistant Karen Brown. I have my Chief Field Reviewer, Mr. Greg Correa. I have my new construction specialist, Seth Ellison. On the other side here, I have my data entry specialist, Ms. Chesney Bullman, and my other data entry lady, Ms. Tennille Kennedy. One thing I'd like to brag about real quick is the combined experience within the office. We boast 92 years of experience. We've been down the road, we've done this a time or two. So, moving on, I'd like to also brag on the fact that me and my office are a two-time recipient of the Tennessee 3-star certification. This certification is something that is awarded to the offices by the Tennessee Association of Assessing Officers for continuing education within the office and for being able to rely and comply to the monitoring of the Division of Property Assessment. Very proud of this. Moving on though, starting off, what we're here for tonight is to discuss the reappraisal and what's coming up. It is law in the state of Tennessee that we complete a reappraisal cycle every 4, 5, or 6 years. This is not something that is an option to the assessors. This is not something that's an option to the county. This is mandatory. It has to happen. What happens during a reappraisal? As you can see, it starts off with, we look at the sales data from transfers by deed. Once we get those deeds in from the sales, we look and see if any property lines need to be adjusted by the surveys that are attached there too. If they need to be adjusted, we adjust them. Once everything gets done there, we move into the data entry portion of it. Names are changed, dates are keyed, anything that needs to be changed to the property on the property record is done. Next up is if we see that we need to do a review of the property. We send our reviewers out, Mr. Greg Correa. He will take a look at the property, make sure everything reflects the property record card. Houses are there, houses are not there, so on and so forth. Once that is done, if there is any new construction, Mr. Seth Ellison takes care of that. Mr. Ellison receives all building permits within the county, city, and state. Anything that is issued within the city or within the county, he obtains those, works those as needed. Next up will be the sales verification. We actually physically look at these sales. We go out, we look at the houses. We cannot gain entry to these houses, so we have to look at them from the outside perspective. So that would be our next step, is sales verification. If we cannot see the outside of these homes, or see the inside of these homes, I'm sorry, or get to speak to any of the owners or purchaser, seller, whatever, we actually send out a sales verification form. That form is to ask the seller and the buyer, hey, is this the value that was done that you bought the property for? Was there any personal property involved in this? Any exchange of property? Did you trade something? So on and so forth. As we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years, sales have went crazy in the county, along with nationwide. Values have went up. There's no hiding that. So what we're going to look at is a few sales here on the monitors behind me that we've seen here in Campbell County. This home here is located in downtown La Follette. This home sold in 22 for $129,000. 24, it's back on the market for $224,900. Last that I heard, this one had a pending contract. Don't know for sure if it still does or not. The next home we're going to be looking at, this one has some acreage to it. It is a 3,175 square foot home. This home sold in 2009 with 13.5 acres for $140,000. This home just recently sold, same acreage, same home, fairly dated house, unchanged, for $570,000. Our next home is located in Jacksboro. This home sold August of '23 for $167,000. The home was remodeled, resold 7 months later for $312,000. This is what we've been seeing. This next one, also located in Jacksboro. This home's 1,232 square foot, sold in 2022 for $190,300. Sold again 5 months later in 2023 for $280,000. Moving on to Caryville. This house sold in Caryville for $185,000 in 2019. It resold again in 2020 for $229,000. Then again in 2022 for $310,000. Now once again, this isn't just in Caryville or Jacksboro or Campbell County. We're seeing these nationwide. This next house in Caryville also sold in 2020 for $86,700. Sold again in 2023 for $199,900. To our knowledge, it is unremodeled. There's still appears to be a air conditioning unit in the window of the upstairs. Moving on, we'll go to the northern part of the county, Jellicoe. This house sold in 2021 for $70,000. Currently listed back on the market, last time we checked, with a pending contract of $195,000. This next one, all I can say is wow. 1,056 square foot, sold in 2022 for $30,000. This house was extensively remodeled. It's not the same that it was when it sold for $30,000, but as you can see, it sold again in 2023 for $165,000. Same goes for mobile homes here in the county. This mobile home sold in 2020 for $49,500. Resold again in 2023 for $110,000. This next one, same case. 2022, this home sold for $65,000. Resold again March of '24 for $180,000 after some remodeling. Our next home is a Lakeview home. These are the homes that we've seen the most increases on value, increases on prices. This home, 2019, sold for $439,080. That's what's on deed. It sold again 2024, February, for $907,000. Now, this is a Lakeview home. It's not a lakefront home. It may have lake access, but it is a Lakeview home as of right now. Lakefront, this next house, sold in 2020 for $487,000. The same house sold in '24 for $970,000. Now, some of the things you might be asking yourself is, how's this going to affect me? Well, this is going to affect you by the value of your home going up. That does not necessarily mean that your taxes are going up just because the value of your home went up. The state of Tennessee, there is a law, 67-5-1701, that actually states that the county cannot generate a windfall of revenue off of reappraised values. What does that mean? It means they can't make money off of reappraisal. That's just the bottom line of it. Now, what happens during this time is the State Board of Equalization will actually, what they do is certify a tax rate to bring in the same amount of revenue off the new values as they did with the old values. With that being said, the county commission must adopt the certified tax rate. There's no bypassing that. They have to. Should the county commission see that they need more money, additional funding, they have to actually vote in a tax increase. That's a have-to case. Now, this next slide we're going to look at actually shows the changes in the values or changes in the tax rate for each year. The first column you'll see, it says previous year. Next column says certified tax rate. The last column says the commission set rate. If we will look at 2010, the previous year's tax rate was $2. The certified tax rate came in at $1.75. $1.76, I'm sorry, forgive me. The commission decided to set the tax rate at $1.76. If you will see the next row up on 2014, that was our next reappraisal. That tax rate stayed the same at $1.76. That year, the values changed, they went down, which means in order to generate the same amount of revenue as the previous year, the tax rate had to go up. It got changed to 1.857, so we'll say $1.86. But you'll also see that the commission set a higher rate in 2014. They decided they needed more money, so they had to vote in excess of it and exceed that tax rate. So they voted in $1.99. The next row up is 2019 reappraisal. That's the last one we had. Now you'll notice in $1.99 it went to a $2.25. Sometime between 2014 and 2019, the county commission voted to raise the tax rate an additional 26 cents. During that time, the reappraisal where it came in, it changed the tax rate to 206.59. We'll say 207. The county commission decided that they needed to set the tax rate at 225, unknowingly that they had to set the certified tax rate first. So after bringing that to their attention by myself, they decided to change it back to the 206.59, which is where it has remained until today. Now, with that being said, additional information is, as you can see, you need to remember, the assessor's office does not raise the tax rate. We do not affect the tax rate other than during the reappraisal year, and that is actually the State Board of Equalization changing it in order to generate the same amount of revenue. The assessor, however, we strive to adhere to the Tennessee tax laws that are mandated by the General Assembly. And we take great pride in trying to do that. So we don't mess around, we try to stick to the law. That's once again the reason why we have actually gotten the 3-star award twice. With that being said, we're going to move on to the future. What's happening in the future? Next up is our reappraisal, our next reappraisal. At this point in time, our next reappraisal is slated for 2029. Now, there has been changes coming down the pike in state legislation that will be changing that required 4, 5, or 6 year cycle to a 2, 3, and 4 year cycle. Now, personally and professionally, I believe that the property owners of Campbell County can benefit from a 3-year reappraisal cycle. I have been in conversation with the State Board of Equalization and the Division of Property Assessments, and been told that as soon as that becomes available, I can put in for an amendment to that 5-year reappraisal cycle that we just established, changing it to a 3-year reappraisal cycle. With the experience that I have in the office and the combined experience of the office's employees, they do not see any reason why we cannot do that. What does that mean, though? What that means is we will try to, I guess you could say, encapsulate or reflect the values that may be changing at that point in time, instead of waiting for 5 years like we have had to in the past. That is a daunting task for the office, but with my staff, I fully believe that we can adhere to that and accomplish that. We have to look at, on average, to adhere to the 4-year reappraisal review of a 5-year cycle, on average 100 parcels a day within this county, on average. Some days we may look at 20, some days we may look at 300. But with my reviewers, I do fully believe and have faith that we can complete that cycle, because I do not see the values that are right now being the same in 5 years. So the sooner that we can actually get another reappraisal cycle completed, would benefit the property owners of the county. Now, with that being said, that is why I'm here. I am not here for the county commission. I'm not here for any other elected official. I'm elected by the property owners, and I'm here for the property owners. And that is what I'm going to fight to do, because I do believe that it would be in the best benefit for the property owners, as said before. What else is happening in 25 is floating home assessments. There's been some changes in the law, the readings of the law. There's also been new Attorney General findings or opinions that leads us to, how do I say it, to have a better grasp on the taxation of these floating homes that have been the great concern of many people in Campbell County. These homes are out there, they're floating on the water, they're not attached to real property. However, with the changes of the wording of one of the laws and the opinion of the Attorney Generals, this is something that will be happening in 2025. With that being said, that brings us to the end, I guess you could say, of this short meeting. But what we have behind us is some contact information. If you have any questions about appraisal information, you can contact our office at the following. Tax information, you would contact Monty Bullock at the Campbell County Trustee's office. And then any of the tax rate information or questions about it, you would need to contact your county commissioners. So now, if anybody in the audience has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. Yes, sir.
Brandon, during the presentation you mentioned sales. Do the home equity loans and home equity lines of credit, the inflated assessment that they usually associated with that, does that impact us at all?
It will impact you, yes. In my opinion, now I'm not a banker, I'm just the assessor. But with that being said, I feel that it would impact you, yes. What we could be looking at is inflated values of homes, being if they start dropping, would put you upside down. If they are taking out extensive lines of credit on these homes, going based off of these house values right now, could we be looking at the same situation as we did in 2006 and 7 and 8? Yes, I believe so. But that is
affect the tax rate?
no. No, the only time that it will affect the tax rate is during a reappraisal. Now, let's say that the property values drop dramatically by the time that we can do the 2023 reappraisal, the 3-year reappraisal, that would put us in 2027. If the values drop during then, yes, that would affect the tax rate as we seen in 2014.
Okay.
So yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Also, to reiterate on one that we talked about earlier, the values that we are placing on these homes are based off of sales of like homes. So no, your the lakefront sales are not going to affect the average home value. We do not take that into effect. The lakefront homes are assessed like lakefront homes. The average homes are assessed like average homes. So no, that sale at the peninsula is not going to affect your sale, your value in downtown LaFollette.
Thank you.
Do I have any more questions? Then I guess that wraps us up. I appreciate everybody coming tonight, the attention, and attendance too. Thank you for coming.